What are tariffs? Explained fast. Are tariffs affecting your wallet? In this video, we're diving into the world of tariffs and how they impact your hard-earned cash. From understanding what tariffs are to exploring their effects on prices, jobs, and the overall economy, we'll break it down in a way that's easy to understand. Whether you're a business owner, investor, or simply a concerned citizen, this video is for you. So, what are tariffs doing to your wallet? Watch to find out. In today's globalized world, the flow of goods across international borders is constant. In recent years, the term tariffs has become a focal point in discussions about international trade, especially with the policies implemented during President Donald Trump's administration. Ever wondered how tariffs actually work? Well, today we're breaking it all down. We'll cover what tariffs are, how they work, who they impact, who really pays for them, and whether they actually achieve their goals. Let's break it down. Take a step back and think about it. Every single product you use, from your phone to your shoes to the coffee you drink, has some component that's imported from another country. When tariffs are imposed, those costs add up quickly. Imagine your favorite coffee beans are imported from Brazil, but there's a 20% tariff on them. That means your morning cup just got 20% more expensive. In many cases, these higher prices can be passed on to consumers through clever marketing. Maybe a company will shrink the packaging or quantity of a product while keeping the price the same, so you end up paying more for less. So, what exactly is a tariff? Think of a tariff as a tax that a country places specifically on goods and services coming in from other nations, making those imports more expensive. This is different from a sales tax, which applies to most things you buy within the country that applies to everything, not just imports. So, when goods cross the border, how are tariffs applied? Importers are the ones who pay these taxes to customs officials. These officials determine the tariff amount based on the importing country's rules, and the added cost usually makes its way to consumers through higher prices. Think of tariffs like toll booths on international trade highways. Who really pays the fee? During his presidency, Donald Trump invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to place significant tariffs on key trading partners, including Canada, Mexico, and China. These tariffs on products like steel, aluminum, and consumer electronics were intended to lower trade deficits, safeguard American industries, and bolster national security. Tariffs can take different forms. The most common type is an ad valorem tariff, which is calculated as a fixed percentage of the value of the imported product. For example, a 10% tariff on imported electronics would mean a $10 tax on a $100 item. Another type is a specific tariff, which is a fixed amount of money per unit of the imported product, such as $5 per pair of shoes or $100 per ton of steel, regardless of its market value. Finally, there are compound tariffs, which are a combination of both ad valorem and specific tariffs. These might involve a fixed fee plus a percentage of the goods value. Imagine a toy store that imports dolls for $10 and sells them for $15, making a $5 profit. If a 20% tariff is imposed, the import cost rises to $12 per doll. To maintain their $5 profit margin, the store would likely have to increase the selling price to $17. These small price increases can add up significantly for shoppers. Even if a tariff isn't directly applied to a product, it can still affect costs indirectly, such as increased fuel prices or higher costs for raw materials like steel used in construction to build a house. According to the Peterson Institute for International Economists, Trump's tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China would cost the typical U.S. household over $1,200 a year. Would you be willing to pay more for everyday items if it meant protecting local jobs? Do tariffs really punish foreign producers? Or do they backfire on consumers? The concept of tariff incidence helps us understand who truly pays. For essential goods like food, where demand is inelastic, meaning people will buy them regardless of price, consumers often shoulder most of the tariff cost. However, for non-essential items like luxury goods, where demand is elastic, meaning people might buy less if prices go up. Foreign exporters might have to lower their prices to stay competitive. Economists refer to this impact on consumer prices as the pass-through rate. Recent studies on tariffs imposed by the U.S. in 2018 and 2019 indicate a near-complete pass-through. For instance, washing machine tariffs raised prices by about $86 per unit, and it also increased dryer prices, which were not subject to tariffs. Research on solar panels showed that a $1 increase in tariffs led to a $1.34 increase in the final price. Even after tariff removal, prices often remain elevated. Currency fluctuations can also influence who pays, potentially offsetting tariff impacts or burdening domestic exporters. Governments impose tariffs for several key reasons. One major goal is to protect domestic industries from cheaper foreign competition. This is called the infant industry argument, where new local businesses are given temporary protection to grow and become competitive. Tariffs also aim to encourage consumers to buy locally produced goods, thus supporting domestic jobs. They also generate government revenue, though this is less significant in developed countries today. National security is another reason, especially for critical industries like steel and semiconductors, to reduce reliance on foreign suppliers. Finally, tariffs are used in foreign policy and trade negotiations to exert leverage, pressure policy changes, or retaliate against unfair practices, acting as bargaining chips. However, this can act as a barrier to trade, reducing the quantity of foreign goods available and increasing their prices. The effectiveness of tariffs and their intended benefits are strongly debated amongst economists, who often argue that tariffs ultimately hurt the economy. They typically result in higher prices for consumers, leaving them with less purchasing power. Businesses that rely on imported goods face increased costs. For instance, tariffs on building materials are projected to increase the cost of constructing a single-family home in the U.S. by an estimated $7,500 to $10,000, potentially dampening demand in the housing market and ultimately leading to loss of jobs. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, warned that these trade barriers could reduce economic growth in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, while increasing inflation. According to the Tax Foundation, U.S. GDP growth was projected to decrease to 2.2% in 2025 and 1.6% in 2026, with similar slowdowns anticipated for Canada and Mexico. While global trade is projected to be high, growth in goods trade has slowed, and tariffs pose a risk. Tariffs can also decrease efficiency and innovation by shielding domestic industries from competition. A major risk is retaliation from other countries, leading to trade wars that harm global trade and economic growth. A historical example is the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. Widely blamed for deepening the Great Depression, global trade plummeted by around 66% between 1929 and 1934 as countries retaliated with their own tariffs. U.S. imports and exports both saw dramatic declines, and unemployment soared. Another example of tariffs having a major impact is China's tariffs on Australian wine imports. Prior to the introduction of the import duties on bottled Australian wine to mainland China, it was Australia's biggest export market, with wine exports peaking at 121 million liters valued at $1.3 billion in the 12 months ended October 2020. After the tariffs were introduced, Australian wine exports to mainland China fell dramatically to just $10 million and 1.4 million liters in the 12 months ended December 2023. Retaliatory tariffs from other countries can significantly escalate the negative impacts of tariffs. For instance, when the U.S. imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum, the European Union responded by reinstating their own tariffs on American goods. Similarly, Canada initially planned high tariffs in response, leading to trade negotiations. These back-and-forth measures create instability in global supply chains, impacting businesses and driving up costs for everyone. The other effect is that countries affected by U.S. tariffs may seek new trade partnerships, potentially realigning global trade networks. Trade policy uncertainty also prompted businesses to reconsider supply chains, exploring reshoring, diversification by importing from countries unaffected by the tariffs. So, to wrap things up, tariffs are a complex economic tool with potential short-term gains for specific industries. However, the overwhelming evidence indicates that they often lead to significant economic pain, primarily felt by consumers through higher prices. What do you think? Are tariffs a smart economic move or a costly mistake? Do tariffs create jobs or kill them? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more topics explained fast.